right, welcome back, everybody, for another episode of Chasing Ghosts. This is the video series where I talk about those hard to find, those impossible to find comics, those things you got to do some legwork, some digging, some research to kind of track down and get yourselves a copy of some of these hard to find, whether they be variants, exclusives, or what have you. Hopefully, you're enjoying this series as well as everything else here on the channel. Let me know in the comments what you think. Please like, subscribe, hit the alert button so you don't miss anything. If you're interested, join our memberships and get some extra little bit of content and some more fun stuff coming your way. And with that, hopefully you're also enjoying more giveaways. We just finished the giveaways for Hidden Gems yesterday. Congrats to the winner there. I'm going to get that book out this week. And I actually have an idea to maybe do a giveaway for next week's Chasing Ghosts. I'm just waiting for something to come in the mail to me first to kind of spawn the idea. So maybe keep a lookout that maybe we're going to be doing a giveaway next week on Chasing Ghosts. And hopefully, again, like you're enjoying everything we're doing here on the channel. Make sure you're watching the tax show tomorrow as well. We get off of the action hero tier list and go into something a little bit different. And with that all said, if you want to know what ghosts I have to potentially show you this week, just hang on for a few seconds after the intro and I will be right back. All right, so let's see what I got for you this week. I got a couple of different options and a couple of different selections to kind of throw out your way just to see what sticks and what doesn't. Just some ideas I was kicking around and figured, you know what, let's dig in and see how tough are some of these books to find. And we're going to start off with Captain Marvel. Yes, this volume of Captain Marvel, I think it's volume 7. I'm not even sure the numbers. Maybe it's not volume. I don't know. So many different volumes of Captain Marvel. This is the volume where we get first introduced to Kamala Khan, and this is issue 13, the issue just before Kamala Khan shows up in a little like half-panel page cameo appearance or whatever you want to call it. But issue 13, this is an Amanda Conner cover from June of 2013. This is a 1 in 30 incentive, so an oddball ratio from that time. Usually it's not 1 in 25, it's not a 150, it's a 1 in 30. But with a book that's not printed that heavily, that's only estimated under 20,000, that 1 in 30 means there are potentially only 655 copies of this particular variant out there. Again, this is the best information that we have. They're not concrete set in stone numbers. I'm just giving you the best estimate based off of Comicron, estimated print run for that month, and then you do that ratio math to figure out how many potential copies there could be. And then we'll just dig in a little bit further. Like looking at the CGC census, how many copies have gotten submitted for this particular book? Only 21 copies with 798s, 996s, 494s, and it looks like a single 92. Wrap up that whole count of 21, which is really not that many. This book also hasn't had any recent sales for us to kind of point to and look at to see what's the market for this thing. So no sales. We only have to look at what's available. And are there any available copies? Well, there are. There are a couple. Well, I don't know if we want to say a few. Is 3 a few? Maybe a few, if we count 3 as a few, because I found 3 when I went looking yesterday. There's 2 raws, one for $250 and one for $312 plus shipping on those raws. So this is a pricey book, not easy to find and pretty pricey. And there is a signature series, Amanda Conner variant SS96, that's also listed for $480 right now. So there are 3 copies if you were looking for this one out there right now. So kind of tough and kind of expensive. Now, I mentioned Kamala Khan first, but she doesn't appear in this book. It's not this one. It's the next issue, issue 14, that has that little cameo first appearance, I guess you would say, of her character. Unnamed and, no details on it, but that's basically it's her. But that is in issue 14 of this same run. And this is another Amanda Conner 1 in 30. And this is the following month, July of 2013. So again, another oddball, tough ratio. And as you might guess, the print run is just as low as the last month. Still a little bit less, just over 19,000 on the full print run. So the incentive is possibly around 644 if we do that quick math, which is definitely not a lot of copies. Pretty cool cover. I like it. You got the big symbol in the back. It almost has like a Art Deco kind of vibe with the background, almost to try to get you to join the Air Force or something like that. One of those sign up kind of things. Anyway, how many are in the census for this one? This one has a few more because I think of the Kamala Khan appearance. 51 copies in the census on this, with 18 9/8s, 21 9/6s, and then a few others filling it out. Just like the last book, though, there have not been any copies sold the last couple of months. eBay history goes back 3 months, and there is nothing of note in there. There's nothing I could suss out or find. So I can't see any copies sold, at least on eBay for the last 3 months. And when I look to see how many copies were available, once again, we do have a few. I guess we're saying three is a few. We have a few. Also, pretty darn pricey. Look at these. 9/6, $5,500. 9/6, $10,000 ask. 9/8 from CBCS asking basically $11,000. 55 watchers on that one as well. $11,000. That's a pricey book, I'll tell you what. But there it is. If you want to know what's out there, there are 3 copies. There are 3 available, and they are pretty darn expensive. So you can bet I am not adding this one to my collection. I do not have it, and I don't look to be adding it anytime soon at these prices. But we do have one more Captain Marvel I want to cover a little bit later in the run. There were just those two, 1 in 30s right at that time. But a little bit later in the run, we get another incentive variant. This time it's a Thor incentive. It was almost like one of those kind of like a theme month kind of thing. And this is on issue 17, which is the other popular book that has the Kamala Khan appearance. Granted, the second print is probably everybody's favorite because she shows up on the cover. But this is not the second print. This is the first print, and this is the incentive variant for that book. This is a Pascal Campion, if I'm saying the name right. November 2013. This is only a 1 in 20 incentive, though. So the incentive ratio is down a little bit more. And on this book, despite it being at the end of this series or this print run, is still pretty strong. Right about 18,000 on this. Granted, it's dipped a little bit over the few months from their last couple of books, but still not too bad. It wasn't a hard fall. So 18,000 of the full print run. So at a 1 in 20, we are getting a few more copies. So there are potentially 908 of this particular variant out there. And again, another Kamala Khan first cameo-ish type appearance with her in there. But like I said, everybody loves the second print because she's on that cover. But second print is still the second print, in my opinion. So it is a cool book. It is a hard book to find, but this is the variant for that same first print book. So, I mean, you make your own choices of how you want to spend the money. But that said, what's in the census for this? There are 46. So a few less than that 14 variant, but 30 of them are 9/8s, 9/9/6s, and 6/9/4s, and then a random 7/5 down in there. So 46, a decent number for this particular variant. And we actually did have one sell. We had one sold for $121 on a 9/8. I think that's a pretty decent price, personally, for this book. As I said, it's under 1,000 copies. It is a book that people do like. It's not the greatest cover, I will say that, for the book and for why you're buying it. If you're buying it for Kamala Khan, getting a Thor cover isn't probably your first choice. So I get it. But it is still a 1 in 20 incentive variant for that first appearance, cameo, whatever you want to call it. It's still not an easy book to find, and I think 121 bucks at a 9/8 is not that bad of a price, especially when you compare it to what the asking prices are right now. There's another 9/8 for 400 bucks, another 9/8 asking 685, and then 2 raws asking $400 and $500 respectively. And then there's a few more. So this one, there are copies out there of those 908. There are more than a handful out there right now. So keep that in mind as well. We're going to shift. We're going to shift to a different title and going to go with a super high incentive ratio. This will be a tough one to qualify for, but this was a heavily printed book. And the book I want to talk about here is Champions #1. Everybody knows Champions 1, right? But everybody talks about like that Alex Ross cover and even just the regular cover because they hope that we're going to get this team showing up. And I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon, but we can all dream and hope, right? Totally awesome Hulk, Kamala Khan, you got Miles Morales, Sam Alexander Nova, Vision, and young Cyclops, which really throws a whole hitch into this whole plan, but that's what it is. But this is the 1 in 1,000 variant that features Deadpool on the cover from Mike Hawthorne, October 2016. 1 in 1,000. So shops had to order 1,000 copies to be able to order one of these. 1,000 copies. And you might think that's a crazy high ratio. It is. But there were 328,000 copies of this book printed. 328,000. That's like going back almost to like the days of the 90s when the print runs. But even when you do that math, it still gives us 328, which again is a pretty small number. But 1 in 1,000, it's they're out there. There's just 328, which is still not a big number, but still probably bigger than you might have expected when I said that we're doing a 1 in 1,000. That said, what's in the census? A lot of copies graded out of that 328, as we've got 92 in the census, 77 9/8, 8/96s, and then a few others scattered throughout. So a decent number graded and a decent number getting that 9/8 as well. So keep that in mind. Keep that in mind before you start shelling out your big bucks for this one as well. Not saying don't buy it. I'm just saying just keep that in mind. What do we got in the market? What's sold recently? More than what I've shown you, but here's a good sample of what's been sold. 9/8 sold for $800. 9/6 sold for only $282. I think that's pretty good. A pretty good deal for a 9/6. Personally, I mean it's 1 in 1,000 after all, and a 9/6 ain't that far off from a 9/8. And another 9/8 sold for $1,500, and then another 9/8 all the way back in June sold for $660. So under ratio for most of these, except that one, and then that 9/6, I think is a pretty decent bargain, really, for what it is. Again, if you look at the ratio 1 to 1,000, a 9/6 ain't too bad at 282. But again, a lot of copies. There are more sales than this. This is just a little sampling that I got for you. And then copies available. There are actually copies available for this thing too. I guess a lot of shops want to sell this and get this out of their get out of their inventory. Look, $725 raw out there right now. And then there are, I think, half a dozen 9.8s from the same seller, all listed at about that $1,500 or best offer price. Because I only listed 3 here, but I think there's 3 more. And you can see they got the census number, so you can see they went up. So they must have submitted all these at once and got a bunch of 9/8. So there they are. They're all out on the market right now if you want to go get them. So there are copies to be had for this one. Now we are going to shift gears. We're going to shift gears and do another connecting cover set from Marco the Jurdovic. I've done a couple of these already, and he did a couple more during this time frame. So we're gonna go back. It's been a few weeks, so if you know what, we've spaced it out enough. Let me do one more of the Jurdovic of cover connecting covers because I think these things are really pretty cool. And the next one we're gonna do are the Iron Man ones, starting with Invincible Iron Man number 500. So we got this nice cover here, a bunch of different Iron Man, another bunch of Iron Man, characters all featured on the cover. There's going to be a bunch of covers, 6 to be exact, and they're all going to connect to form one huge, giant mural type image, which is pretty cool. Now, this first one is the from January 2011. Again, Marco Djurdovic. This is the 1 in 50. This is the only 1 in 50 out of the bunch. I believe the rest of these are 1 in 30s, but this is the 1 in 50 for the issue 500, which is also the highest printed book because it was a milestone. It was a milestone issue at issue 500. So 54,000 to be I don't want to say exact, but 54,000 is the estimated print run for that book. So that makes our 1 in 50 incentive a little under 1,100. So over 1,000 copies potentially of this variant out there. In the census, we do have only 11. That's not too many. 5/9/8s, 5/9/6s, and it looks like a 9/2. So not a lot in the census for this book, for this 1 in 50. And when I looked to see if anything sold, there were none sold recently. And there are a lot of these that haven't sold because I guess people just aren't looking for this. And that's kind of why I'm looking at it because no one else is looking at it. So I figured, you know what, now's a good time to look at this. Because, like I said, I think these are kind of cool. I know Iron Man's not the talk of the town right now, even though he is getting like a little pushback in the comic books, getting a little bit of a higher profile. If you talk movies, well, we're not going to see Robert Downey Jr. anytime soon, I don't think. But that all said, what do we got as far as available copies? Available copies on this one, I did find 3. There's a 9/8 asking about 160 and $40 for a raw and $100 for a raw. So for 1 in 50, you got 1 under ratio, 1 double ratio, and then you got a 9/8, which is only 160, which when you do that kind of a quick little math, that's not too bad for 9/8 for a high incentive ratio. 160 is not a bad asking price, really. But that's if you really wanted to get this book. And if you get this book, I feel like you got to get them all. And then it gets kind of tough. If you get them all graded, you don't get to connect them as nice or as easily because, you got the slabs in the way. But it is what it is. Let's see what we got here for our next book. So there is the next book we're going to look at, which is 501. I don't know why it came up like that, but here we go. 500 and 501 Connect. So issue 501 is next, and we have a few more Iron Man characters. Looks like we got Grim Reaper there as well in the background, as well as some other, these Iron Man villains, like Mandarin was on that first one. Just some cool stuff if you like Iron Man. So 501 is our next one. This is, like I said, starting the 1 in 30 incentive ratios. This is from February 2011. These are all Jurdovic covers because, again, same artists. They all connect. Print run dipped down to 41,000 thereabouts. So even with the lower incentive, the incentive still went up. So it's 1,300 or so for this particular book because, again, 1 in 30 is a lot less to qualify than 1 in 50. In the census for this book, we do have about 9, which again is not a high number. There's not a lot of these graded across the board. 798s and 296s is all we got for this one. And we had a copy sold, and it sold for a very small amount, $2.99. $2.99. I'm all in for $2.99 for 1 in 30 incentive. That's just me. I just like that kind of thing. So I would be buying at $2.99. You can be sure of that. And let's see what we got on the market. If you wanted to buy some of these or buy any of these, you can get it cheap. Look, $5, $4.89. Last one, which means that seller had multiples at $4.89, and I got one left. And there's a 9.6 only wants $59, and then $20 for another raw out there. So it's definitely not an expensive one as far as our chasing ghosts go. But let's see what we got next. And looks like my animations for our connecting covers aren't doing exactly what I wanted, but that's fine. We're going to roll with it as it is. Here we go. We're going to add in Iron Man 2.0 with our covers here to make 3. So now we're getting Crimson Dynamo in the background there. Looks like old school Nick Fury and Living Laser, I think, down there at the bottom. So some more cool characters being added to the pile here with Iron Man 2.0 number 1. With 2.0 being a new number 1, you'd think the incentive might go down, but let's see. There's also a 1 in 30, February 2011, same month as the last book. Print one was only 31,000. So even with it being a new number 1, it's still less than the regular title for that month. So the incentive here is just over 1,000 for this one. In the census, there are still only about 10 copies in the census with 898s, a 96, and a 92. So not a lot there either. When we look here at what sold, we got none. None sold recently on this one because, again, I just don't think anybody's looking into these, all these Jurdovic connecting covers. But, hey, you might be able to get it for cheap if you do want to go shopping because there are a couple of copies. Looking for under ratio or about ratio at 25 to 30. And then there's $150 for a 2-issue set. It looks like maybe that might even be the regular cover that's coming with it. But still, ratio or less, it's not too bad on this one. Granted, it's not as cheap as the last one, but still not too bad. As we add one more book to the pile here, and it's issue number 2 of Iron Man 2.0. So they went Invincible Iron Man 2.0, 2.0 to start stacking these together. So our 4th book has a Doom on there. You got War Machine and some more cool stuff. So Iron Man 2.0, number 2, 1 in 30, March of 2011. What do we got for this one? 24,000 potential copies and 820 of the potential incentive here. So we're under 1,000 now for this incentive as the print run starts dwindling down as the series is continuing. And you can see down to 820 on this 1 in 30. And the census also only has 3 copies in the census with 2 9.8s and a single 9.4. And we did have a sale. We had one sale for $20. $20 for a raw copy of this, which is, again, under ratio. And that was back on July 23rd. So only about a week or so ago, a little more than a week. And that's it. That's all we got sold. And if you want to go buy one, surprisingly, right now, there are none out there. None. I know 820 is not that small of a number, but for the moment, there were none out there that I could find for this particular 2.0 issue 2, 1 in 30. So take that for what it's worth. Connecting one more onto the pile. Again, we go back to Invincible Iron Man here, Invincible Iron Man 502. to wrap up the third part of the Invincible Iron Man segment of the connecting cover. We get Cap and Thor thrown in the mix here, and Hulks. We got the Avengers mixing in, Namor down below, Giant Man, it looks like as well. Pretty cool cover. I'll get you a better look at it here when we just zoom in on just this cover alone. And I guess that's Fing Fan Foom down at there at the bottom. And you get that pretty cool Iron Man that was like the Enter the Mandarin, the Demon Seed kind of time frame. I think that's when he had that mask. Anyway, I can't remember actually when he had that mask. Anyway, I don't want to get sidetracked with that. But it's also a 1 in 30, March 2011 here. Same month as the last book. Print run down to, actually print run is up to 43,000. So this one has a healthy 1,400 copies on this particular one. So it kind of bounced back from issue 502, dipped, I think, down to like 41,000. So it kind of bounced up a little bit on the last issue of this group. And we've got 11 copies again in the census with 10.98s, and it looks like 196. A copy sold for this particular one for a whopping $10. Only $10 on this 1 in 30. So again, that's a decent price. That's the kind of price I like shopping at for these types of variants because, again, it's cheap. Well under ratio. That's where I like to do my buying. Granted, you add in $8.99 shipping on this particular one, then you're playing closer to $20. So you are getting a lot closer to that ratio price, but still not terrible. Asking prices, however, on this are still pretty cheap, anywhere from $15 to $20, and there are multiple copies out there to be found, all raw that I could find. And yeah, so considering there are 1,400 copies of this was the highest printed of the bunch, I think. So it's not surprising there's the most amount of copies for this. And then we got one more. Again, my animations for this didn't work out how I wanted them to, but here's the entire set all lined up, all together. I'll give you a closer look at that last book that has Tony Stark in his little suit. You got the Iron Patriot armor down behind him, Madam Mask as well down there, down below, and just some cool stuff just mixing in. I'm assuming that's, his parents down below, the Starks. But I'm just guessing, considering we're going through the history there. Is that supposed to be Molecule Man, the shirtless guy? I don't know. Anyway, this is also our final 1 in 30 of this connecting cover set, April 2011. This is Iron Man 2.0, number 3. So here, this is it. So we had 3 issues and 3 issues, all forming this connecting cover set. Print one was all the way down to about 20,000 thereabouts. So our incentive is just under 700 copies for this last one. So under 700 copies is probably our lowest for these Iron Man connecting covers as far as potential copies go. And there's only one in the census that I could find, 198 for this particular book. So definitely not a lot of graded copies just since it got the one. But it's a 9.8. Sold recently. This thing sold for ratio, $30, free shipping, back in May. So that one's going to drop off the census or the history of eBay pretty soon. But still, for now, we're able to catch this one, $30 back in May. So at ratio. And there is one copy out there right now if you want to buy it for $45. So it's a little over ratio, but there it is. There is one available if you were so inclined. And that's all I got for you for the Marko Djurjevic connecting covers. I know sometimes these things could take a while because you're talking about 6 covers all connect. You might get a little bored. So we're going to mix it up and just refresh us here at the end with a few weird oddball books. So our first oddball book to kind of change pace on you is going to be the Comic Book Legal Defense Fund presents Elephant Men Shots #1. This is a one-shot for the Comic Book Legal Defense Fund. This is the incentive variant. It's 44 pages, costs $6. Add an image. This is a 1 in 25 incentive. Sketch cover by J. Scott Campbell. You know I like Campbell. This is a pretty fun cover. You got the sexy girl there with the hippo guy right there. From Elephant Men. The series that did have to feature those characters. May of 2015 here. I could not get a print run for this book, for this Comic Book Legal Defense Fund book. So I don't know how many we could even potentially say are for the incentive. I don't even know what the full print run is. How can I possibly guess what the 1 in 25 is going to be, apart from saying that it's probably going to be very low and very tough to find? Because when I went and looked, there weren't a lot out there. In the census, we have a whopping 4 copies, 4 298s, a 96, and a 92 for the sketch cover of this 1 in 25. And you know how people love to grade Campbell covers. So if there's only 4 in the census, that's saying something. None have sold recently. In the last 3 months, no sales that I could find for this particular book. And when you want to go and look for one to buy, well, you got one. There's one out there. and it's a 9.8, and it's looking for about $600. So there's your option. If you want to get this book, you want to buy this book, you got a 9.8 option. There's only those 4 graded, so $600 is your price if you are thinking about this one. I'm not going to do it because I don't like sketch covers all that much personally, and I know this one's going to be tough to find, but I also don't like paying $600 for books. So that one's going to be a pass for me personally, but you guys make your own decisions. All right, I got a couple more books. We're going to shift over to a weird little segment of Star Trek books. I know we don't really talk about Star Trek a lot here on the channel, but there are some interesting Star Trek variants out there, including this Discovery one-shot, Captain Saru. This is a one-shot retailer incentive. This is a 1 in 10 because this is a IDW book, and now you know how IDW loves doing their 1 in 10s. So Angel Hernandez did this cover March 2019, so it's not even that old. This 1 in 10. Estimated print run on the full book is only 4,100 copies. So when you do that 1 in 10 incentive, there's only probably about 417 copies of this variant out there, which really ain't a lot. Especially when you consider I couldn't find any graded in the census. So nobody thought to slab this particular incentive book. Interesting. But if you want to see what it sells for, there is one sale. I got one for you. $13 somebody stole this for back in May. And I say steal because I think that's a great price for something like this. This is, like I said, a 1 in 10. There's only maybe 400 copies. So to get it just over ratio at $13, I think that is a buy, in my opinion. Especially it's kind of a cool cover. I kind of like this, that, close up the face. But I don't know. Had I noticed it or seen this out there, I probably would have bought in at that price. I mean, regardless of hopes for it being a higher return down the line, I just think that's a good price. I would have bought something like this because, just tough to find. But the copies that are available right now, and I say copies, not that there are a lot, but there are 3, aren't asking $13 though. They're asking closer to 70, 80. So that's more where I would have expected something like this to be asking. So 3 copies right now, and then one of those you can even see is listed at very fine plus. But yeah, they're about 70 to $80 is what they're looking for. So take that for what it's worth. Now, I got one more book for you, one more Star Trek book before we get out of here for today, I think. And that book is going to be Star Trek Discovery Succession, issue 4. This is the retailer incentive. This is a 5-issue series, and this is the 1 in 25 for issue 4. All the previous issues, I believe, only had 1 in 10s, and there was a 1 in 10 for this issue as well. But it also had, for whatever reason, this 1 in 25, which features, the Constellation, USS Constellation there. Declan Shavley did the cover here, August 2018, 1 in 25 on what is a pretty low printed book at about 5,800 copies. So that puts our incentive at potentially 234 for this. That's not a lot at all. So, yeah, I mean, you talk about all those books everybody goes crazy for at San Diego, like, oh, it's limited to 500 or 1,500 or whatever. 234 from a few years ago. So imagine how tough this one's going to be to track down. Also, like the last book, nobody got it graded, or at least not in the census. So there's none in the census. There's also none sold the last 3 months that I could look at. I was expecting to find no copies available, but I was surprised. That there's not 1, but 2 copies out there. One, raw asking $250, and then one that has issues 1 through 4, I believe, with the 1 in 10s, and then the 1 in 25. So a variant set, not even complete because I think there's still issue. Or is this the complete set? This might be the complete variant set of 1 through 5, but still, it's $600. So you got 5 issues in there for $600. Neither of these are cheap. So there are 2 options out there, whether you want to buy it single or in a set, but both are pretty expensive. So there you go. That's what I got for you this week. And considering many of these had multiple copies out there, I'm sure you're not surprised that we have a 10 out of the 13 were hard to find. We're just going to call them hard to find because there's at least 2 copies out there for everything here. So these 10, most of the Invincible Iron Mans, both Star Trek books, all 3 Captain Marvels, and that Champions book, which was a 1 in 1,000, mind you, all we'll just call hard to find because there were multiples out there, which leaves us with 3 out of our 13. 2 of those Iron Man books and that Elephant Men only had 1 or none available. So I believe the one Iron Man had no copies, and then the Elephant Men and the other Iron Man, I think, had 1 copy apiece. So one copy. I feel pretty comfortable with these three, calling these three, at least for this week, at this moment in time, we'll call these three ghosts. So if you want to go find them, there's only one shot or no shots for you to go buy them. So take that for what it is. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Thanks for stopping by, checking this out. Hopefully, you're still enjoying this series as well as everything else here on the channel. As I keep telling you, let me know in the comments and keep telling your friends so we can keep growing this thing and doing more giveaways like I plan to do next week on Chasing Ghosts. I'll tell you what it'll be and what the prize will be once we get there. Still working out the details in my head, but it's probably going to be pretty simple, similar to the last couple of giveaways that I did for Dollar Bin Digging and Hidden Gems. So I'm trying to give every show their own little giveaway at this point, just to kind of give back to you guys. So once again, like, subscribe, hit the alert button. Don't miss the live shows on Wednesday and Sunday. If you want to check out the memberships, go see what you can get by joining up. We give you some extra stuff. I'm going to have some t-shirts, which I'm still designing, and a lot of fun things coming your way from, everybody here at Rennavision, because it's not just me anymore. I got friends doing shows here as well. So give them some support, give them some feedback as well on their shows, like the boys doing the Mail Call Madness on Friday. So go check it out and see what Dom and Jedi are buying and spending all their money on. And I'll give you guys another pickup show eventually. But that all said, hopefully you're enjoying the channel. Hopefully you're enjoying the content. And I will be back with more of it tomorrow. All right? Later.